What's up, everyone? Hope you're having a great week so far. Here is the last devotional video on Psalm 27. Hope you've enjoyed them. We'll start something new next time. So if you have any ideas on something you want me to do next, let us know. Here it is. Hope you enjoy it. We'll see you soon. Have a great week. Finish Psalm 27 today. Let's see what David has to say today. Look at verse 11. He says, "Teach me your way, O Lord, and lead me on a level path because of my enemies." Okay, so this is what's going on. As we know, David is going through a hard situation. Specifically, he's referring to some enemies that are against him. He says, because of my enemies, it is causing him to pray something to God. And what it's doing is when he's in this hard situation, the thing that he wants right now, the thing he's asking God for, is for God to teach him, look at this, your way, O Lord. Your way, O Lord. Now here's why that matters, because we live in a society that actually says the opposite. The society we live in says that life is found when you do you, meaning you do what makes sense to you, you do what feels right to you, you lean on your own understanding, and that's where life is found. The problem is what the Bible teaches is that there's a way that seems right to us, but in the end, this you do you way of living actually leads to death. It actually doesn't work. Now, when you listen to music today, you watch movies, a lot of times in media, what you're going to find is that you do you is crowned as something that leads to life. But the Bible say, no, actually that leads to death. And when we're in hard situations, sometimes it can strip us of this idea and we realize, hey, you do you actually doesn't work. Actually, it's not reliable. And what David is saying is that no, you do you does not work. That leads to death. Humility, though, humility leads to life. And what humility is in this example is saying, God, I need you to teach me your way. Maybe it doesn't make sense to me. Maybe it won't feel right to me, but I know that your way is better than my way. See, look at what David says here. He says, lead me on a level path. So what David's doing is he has this understanding, this awareness that God's ways, they're probably going to be different than David's ways. But when he follows God's ways, when he learns God's ways, it's going to be like he's on a level path in a world that is standing on unstable ground, on things that aren't reliable. David is going to stand on something that is reliable. Now, here's what's cool about that. There's a lot of times we're curious about what God's plan is for our life. We want to know what school should we go to, what sports should we play, who should we marry, what decisions should we make, and all that stuff's really important. We should seek counsel, we should pray about it. But here's something that I remember hearing a long time ago, and I've always remembered this. One of the things I remember hearing is this: excel at the revealed things. Excel at the revealed things. And what that means is this: the revealed things are the things that God has said in his word. So what we know is his ways and his paths, his commandments are that we love him and we love other people. That's the essence of what it's all about, because he first loved us. We know that that's the case. So here's the thing. I don't know what God has for me in 10 years. I don't know what college he wants you to go to. I don't know what school maybe he wants you to go to next year. We should pray about those things. We should seek counsel. But the one thing I do know is he wants us to pursue the revealed things and apply them to our life situations. So the question is, God, in this season I'm in, what does it look like to love you and to love other people in this situation, in the school that I'm at, in my house right now, in the sports that I play? What does it look like to love you and love other people in any situation? We'll just write it right there. Love God, love others in any situation. That's what it means to excel at the revealed things. God, teach us your way, what it looks like to love you and love others. That's what David's doing. Now look at what he does in verse 12, right? He continues to pray and he says, give me not up to the will of my adversaries, for false witnesses have risen against me and they breathe out violence. So this is what's happening. David has this hard situation. And as we've been talking about, when we're in a hard situations remind us that we are not in control. And for you, maybe you have people that are against you right now. Maybe you don't. None of us probably do to the extent that David did. But what we know is that our hard situations remind us that we are not in control. But here's the good news. We are in relationship with the God who is in control. We know the God that is in control of all things. And what David's doing here is he's recognizing that, and he's saying, God, my only choice right now is to pray to you. You're in control of all things. I'm not in control of all things. So I can't just plan and strategize and fix everything. I have to turn to you. And David's saying that is where life is found. When we realize we don't have control, we have to lean on the God that does. Now look at how David ends this psalm. These are some famous verses. You may have heard them before. It's really good. Let's see what David says here. He says, I believe that I shall look upon the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Okay, so this is what he's saying. Even in that, his situation has not changed. There's not something between verse 12 and 13 that says, oh, by the way, side note, everything's great now. That's not what it says. As far as we know, he's still in a hard situation. He's saying, hey, even in that, as I've thought about who God is, as I've looked upon the future, I shall look upon the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. I can have peace. I can have confidence, even in the midst of something crazy. So what he's doing is this thing that he's already done is he's looking towards the future. I think that's what it means by the land of the living. I think it's talking about heaven, because the earth is the land of the dying. Heaven is the land of the living. I think that's what a lot of people would say. So if that's true, he's looking at the future. And as he does that, that's giving him faith today. He knows that he is going to see God's goodness. And a lot of times heaven is described as a feast. So we're hungry, we're longing for this meal, and we're going to get to feast one day in the celebration. He's looking at that, and that's giving him confidence. So the way he closes it is he actually turns to you and me. He turns to the people that are reading it. And he says to them, hey, wait for the Lord. Be strong. Let your heart take courage. Don't just act like you're courageous on the outside. Actually experience heart level courage. And then one more time, wait for the Lord, the God who works all things for the good of those who love him. That's Romans 8:28. Be strong, let your heart take courage. That's a phrase that you would use in battle. The reality is that this world is a battleground. It's not perfect. We're waiting. We're longing for the day when things will be made perfect. But in the meantime, in God, we can have courage in him. So here's how I would summarize this psalm. If I had to kind of put it in my own words, I would say this. We are all going to deal with fear and anxiety. And we're dealing with it in this season of coronavirus a lot. We're all going to deal with it. And here's what the psalm is teaching us, is that we need a remedy. We are looking for a remedy. We are looking for a solution. We are looking for help in the midst of it. And what David is showing us is that when we know God's character, when we know that he is loving, that he is good, that he's in control of all things, when we remind ourselves of that, that is what brings peace. That is the remedy that we need to turn to in this season. What an awesome psalm. I hope it encouraged you over the past couple weeks. We're going to turn to something else next. But in the midst of this, I would just encourage you to check out this psalm, spend some time in it, and wait for the Lord. Be strong and let your heart take courage. You have a God who loves you. We have a God who sent Jesus to die for us, and that is ultimately where our hope is found.